Hi, guys. Welcome to my literature podcast. Today we have a special guest, my dog, Dexter. He refuses to let me put him down to do this, so we need to get this episode recorded, so we're going to roll with it. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the novel Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler and be discussing some of the key elements that really stand out throughout the novel. So let's kind of jump right into it. The first key element that kind of stands out sort of in the beginning of the novel is climate change. Now, the main character's name is Lauren Alamina, and she's a 15-year-old girl. She lives in a community that was affected by climate change. Now, climate change can be anything from hurricanes, floods, droughts, you name it, a community can be affected by these things. Now, not only does Lauren have to worry about any type of hurricane, flood, drought, anything of that sort. She also has to worry about gang members, thieves, drug addicts, and she is surrounded by walls, but she feels like she's in a prison because of these things. Now, because of the effects that the climate had on her town, it allowed the town to be destroyed by outlaw drug addicts. So because things weren't better prepared, they had to embrace the change that was thrown at them. Now, because change is difficult for so many people, I believe that the people in the Robledo community should have tried to better prepare for the changes that they were going to be faced with. There's no way that they could have known that these things were going to happen, but had they prepared themselves for the situation just in case, I feel like the situation and the outcome of things could have been much more different throughout this novel. Now, Lauren had asked and tried to get her father, to not settle and try to be a little bit better at being prepared for things, but he just wasn't interested in that. So they had to figure out a new way of life because of that. Now, even though her father and her stepmother, even though they weren't exactly prepared for what was to come, Lauren embraced the change and she prepared for it in the best way that she possibly could for a 15-year-old girl. Now, change is going to be a topic that is brought up quite often and is very, very prominent in this novel. So bear with me as it will be talked about quite a bit. One of the next elements is the amount of discrimination that they were faced with as marginalized groups, especially in a pre dystopian society. A lot of people felt very defeated because companies have even more power than they have ever before. And because of this, they treated their employees like slaves. Now, luckily, Lauren's father and stepmother didn't fall into the category of people with, poor physical and mental health and education that was non existent, basically, and low skills. But Lauren and a lot of other people in that community, they did fall into this category. Now, there are many factors that contributed to the dysfunction of society throughout this novel, and different people can conclude a lot of different things. But personally, I feel organizations really benefited tremendously because of their employees, and these companies would be nowhere near as successful without these employees, and they use that to their advantage. This then led the government to lose control, and then they tried to utilize the antitrust laws that were in place, and they couldn't. This caused a lot of people to become desperate, and a lot of people couldn't face that amount of change. So it definitely took a toll on their mental health and the way that they live. Now, I feel like Lauren, however, wanted more for herself and taught herself skills in order to change the situation and her outcome in life, basically. Now, she led others to believe in this dream that she's had, and she created a religion called the Earthseed religion, and she got quite a lot of people along the path of this novel to also believe in her beliefs and follow her along throughout this journey. And again, now to me, this showed tremendous resilience by Lauren. And I think she truly did fight to have the life that she wanted and the life that she deserved and worked hard for. Now, another key element that really stood out to me is Lauren's ability to make people believe and be interested in this religion that she created. How can a young girl get all of these people to follow her beliefs? It was because of her determination and the way that she went about things. Now, I'm going to bring up some things since this, is a literature podcast. Um, there was a sense of irony in the fact that Lauren created her own religion because her family was not only Baptist, but her father himself was the minister. So this kind of created a sense of irony in this novel for myself that I noticed. So Lauren did not completely agree with her father's religion and the rules that were to be followed. And this is one of the reasons why she created her own religion that was full of her own beliefs. And Lauren herself wants to follow these things and serve and let this serve as a safe place for other people as well. Now, I personally believe Octavia Butler did an amazing job portraying the evolution of Lauren's Earthseed religion throughout this novel. And the reason I say that is because throughout this journey, Lauren was able to bring people of all different communities, races, ages, social classes, etc., together to furthermore help solidify this religion. And this gave people a place to belong, per se. Now, something else that stood out to me and genuinely was very remarkable was the amount of trust that was built between a group of strangers, just simply based on having the same beliefs. Strangers become family and have people that they can lean on in times of desperation or in times of need. And that is something that truly stood out to me in this novel. All in all, life, the world, you name it, so many different things can be thrown your way and so many different obstacles. But it's up to you whether or not you allow this to make you get up and fight for yourself or let it break you down and consume you as a person. And through all of the elements Lauren was faced with, she faced them all head on. And despite everything being thrown at her throughout this entire novel, she ended up right where she needed to be and was able to help people along the way, and not only herself. What I took from Parable of the Sower was it gives readers an insight into how change, discrimination, inequality, religion, and so many other elements have affected people for years and probably always will. It's inevitable. If there's one lesson that I took throughout reading this entire novel, it's that facing things and acknowledging them instead of succumbing to what others want, that's probably the most important lesson to me. I encourage anyone who has not read this novel to read it, and not only read it, but to kind of dig deeper and look at the key elements, look at the meanings behind things, and see that resiliency really can get you where you want to be. Thank you guys so much for watching.